Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 145 of Crunch Time. I'm going to be your host of today's episode. I am Tanner Dislin, and as always, I am joined by Sam Godsey, and we are the N326 duo. Samuel, how are we doing today, my friend?
Man, I'm doing good. Tanner had a great weekend of football. I mean, when is it not? It seems every week has been just awesome, even when we don't really expect it. So it's been awesome. Obviously, MLB playoffs going on right now. Your Mets are looking good. So a lot to be happy about around this part.
A lot to be happy about. Great weekend of football. This, like you said, one that we expected to be a good weekend. Last week was the one we didn't, and it delivered. And then, of course, this upcoming weekend is going to be, the granddaddy of them all, to quote Brent Musburger. But yeah, we got a full episode recapping football. We're going to recap a little baseball as well, see where we are, because at this current moment, Sam, the Yankees are up 3-0 in game 2. If they hold on to win this, we'd be exactly 5 wins away from a Subway Series World Series, which is my worst nightmare. It would be absolutely nuts. But yeah, insane. So we'll recap a little baseball, recap a little football. And then, of course, we got Pick'em, and then we'll end it with questions. Before we get to all that, of course, we will always start with our winners and losers. So, Sam, who's your winner of the episode?
Yeah, this dude hasn't been talked a lot in a long time, but he is making his return to the basketball court on Wednesday. Chicago Bulls guard Lonzo Ball is expected to make his return in Wednesday's night preseason home game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He has last played on January 14, 2022, had multiple procedures on his left knee, including a double cartilage transplant, which is insane. But, I mean, if y'all know me, I'm a huge Lonzo Ball guy. So it's super cool seeing him back on the floor.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's been a long road. I feel like a lot of people in his position with all the injuries and everything going on. And I mean, it's not like he's, struggling for money. He's made some in his career, and obviously his family being who he is. I feel like a lot of people would have just kind of called it in, but not him. He wants to get back out on the court. Definitely shout out to Lonzo. I think the fit in Chicago was really good when he was playing. I mean, when he was playing, that team was number 1 seed in the East for a while. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure Bulls fans are happy, although they kind of blew up their team. So not coming into the same situation he was when he left, but yeah, good for him to get back on the court. No doubt about it. But for my winner, Sam, I have to go with, undoubtedly, unequivocally, the best conference in football, the best division in football, the NFC North.
Yeah.
This division is on an absolute tear right now, Sam. Now, I just gave you a massive hint. But can you right now, we're going to play a little game. Can you name me the top 5 teams in the NFL in terms of scoring differential?
I'm going to go.
Who's number 1?
I'm going to go Lions.
Is not the Lions.
Vikings.
Is the Vikings, plus 63. Who's number 2?
Lions.
Lions, plus 60. Who's number 3?
49. Packers.
Is not the Packers.
Is this a non-NFC? Oh, my God.
Nope. It's the one you're...
The Bears?
The Bears are plus 47.
It's crazy how good. Like, they have been in the back of so many people's minds. So I completely forgot they were even in that
thing. Like, they're not playing good teams, but they're beating the shit out of the bad teams. So the Bears are plus 47. And who's in 4th place? Packers at plus 41.
Ain't bad.
Yeah, but 5th place team is the Bills.
It's weird though, because there's only been one NFC North matchup.
Yeah, only one,
which is crazy.
Only one in division matchup, and that was the Vikings, and they beat the Packers. So yeah, Vikings plus 63, Lions plus 60, Bears plus 47, Packers plus 41. The Packers and Bears are 4-2. The Lions are 4-1, and the Vikings are 5-0. So that's 9, 13, 17, and 4.
That ain't bad.
5, excuse me, 17 and 5 for the NFC North.
That is not bad.
Not bad at all. I saw something about the Packers. Like they were the first team to be 4-2 and be in last place in their division. And like, I don't know, in like modern NFL history or something. So the NFC North is an absolute gauntlet. Every team is really good. 17 and 5, the top 4 teams in terms of point differential. Every stat, they're just dominating.
Yeah, it sounds like it. They're an absolute buzzsaw starting this season off. And honestly, I don't think anybody I think the Lions people were very high on.
Right.
But
I think people knew the Lions and the Packers would be pretty good. I think there was some optimism for the Bears, but weren't sure how good. Yeah. And no one thought the Vikings were going to be what they were going to be. So like true. All of that together is just like, whoa, like this division is really good. So definitely deserving of the winner. But Sam, we got to take a look on the other side now. Who is your loser of the episode?
Yeah, my loser is gonna be one I think you agree with me on here. I'm gonna go with the MLB TV schedule, Tanner. A couple days ago, obviously the Mets took on the Dodgers in Game 2 of the NLCS. And when was first pitch?
Yeah, first pitch was 4 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Central time, 1 p.m. local time because the game was in LA.
Why? And they wonder why,
I understand. Like, I get, baseball has a unique connection with daytime, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Regular season baseball games rock.
Yeah.
Playoff games should always be at night. When they pan in, they play like the Fox MLB music, and they pan in, and every time you got the fans waving their towels. When the sun is out, it just doesn't hit.
No.
When it's pitch black outside, that hits. I mean, this is the damn semifinals, Sam, and they're playing it at 1 p.m. local time on a Monday.
Yeah,
absurd.
It is absurd. And I was just checking scores. Just kind of on my phone, and I see the Mets are playing. I'm like, what the hell? And we had a little fun text conversation about it.
Yeah.
Like you said, I understand it when it comes to regular season because you have 162 games. You have to play midday games, right? But it's getting down to the wire where everybody wants to watch it, right?
Yeah.
Even the casual fans, I'd say, are tuning in to that matchup. So it's just crazy.
But even if you want to do maybe a DS or a wild card series, because you got 4 wild card series, you play them on the same day. Sure, you can stagger them, whatever. That's fine. The NLCS should not be played with the sun out. Period. End of story. And now one thing I love about the baseball playoffs is that because they play every day, that it's condensed into 1 month, right? And it makes it so electric as composed to as compared to basketball. Our thoughts it's just all right, game 1 was fun, see you in 5 days, and then in 6 months you find out who's the winner. It sucks, but when you get to the CS, I feel like you got to go every other day. You know what I mean? I don't know, but the bottom line here is, as you said, a semifinal game should not be played with the sun out.
It makes no sense to me, especially it's not even late afternoon where some people could get off of work no, it's in the middle of the damn work
1 p.m. local time.
It's crazy.
Imagine being an LA fan where it's let's go to the game. What time is it? 1 p.m.
On a
Monday. That's insanity, dude.
But yeah, so MLB TV schedule.
Yeah.
Tough.
Not good at all. But for my loser, Sam, I have two. We're going to start something we'll get into later. One of the best games of the weekend, one that we were so incredibly looking forward to. Oregon, Ohio State. I mean, maybe the game of the year, certainly the game of the year in the Big Ten. The two front runners in the Big Ten. The game did not disappoint. Back and forth. Ended up coming down to the wire. Oregon pulls out a big time win. We'll get into all that later. But Oregon's number one wide receiver did not get to celebrate with the team. Traeshon Holden of Oregon was ejected in the first half because he decided it was a good idea to spit on the Ohio State cornerback. I mean, I don't obviously spitting on another human, let alone a player, another kid, in a sporting event, spitting on another human is absurd. But to do it in a sporting event where if they see you do it, if somehow they're convinced that you did it, you're going to get ejected easily.
Mm-hmm.
During the biggest game of your career thus far against Ohio State, it doesn't
ever.
The lights don't get brighter than this. I mean, maybe if they go on to make the playoff, and sure, it will. But at this point, the lights don't get bigger than that. You're the primetime game, the game, top 5 matchup, the game in the Big Ten, and you don't get to play in it because you spit on another player.
Yeah.
The most insane loser behavior I've ever seen. I'm sure he's apologized. I haven't seen it. I don't really care to hear it. Actions speak louder than words, and he thought it was a good idea to spit on him. So
Yeah.
But again, I can't believe just spitting on someone is definitely loser worthy. But to do it when you're playing in the biggest game and your team wins and everyone's celebrating and they're going, it must have been so fun to be in that Oregon locker room. Guess what? Traeshon Holden doesn't know.
Yeah,
he doesn't know if it was or not because he got freaking ejected. But my other loser, Sam, we are approximately. Hold on, I want to get this right. We are. This is good podcasting. Right here. We are. No, they don't play today. Okay, here we go. We are. Load the 4 games. We are 4 games into the Paul George era in Philly, and he is already hurt.
That's wrong.
And he is already hurt.
That's crazy. Yeah, not great. And it does not seem to be a good, like a twisted ankle or, it's serious.
It looked like it was a deep bone bruise of his knee. It's Paul George, so it's already going to take him 6 months to recover from the most elementary of injury. But yeah, it is funny. Obviously, a city that kind of needs some juice from its sports teams, kind of down in the dumps at the moment, and their star acquisition is already hurt 4 games in, and 4 preseason games, I might add.
Yeah. Why is he even playing preseason?
I don't. I've seen clips of like the Knicks, and the Knicks have their starting line. It's Tibbs, but the Knicks have their starting lineup in the freaking preseason.
I get getting some minutes, like 5,
like what NFL does.
Yeah,
but even I know the Vikings, ever since Kevin O'Connell took over the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, last year Kirk Cousins, but obviously not this year because he's not on the team. But Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, none of them played in the preseason. He's like, your health is too important.
It's crazy how that works.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, it's Paul George is already hurt. Stop me if you've heard that before. Oh, man. But before we get into some ball, should we talk a little MLB postseason,
Let's
Sam?
do it.
Now, tell me, are you rooting for a Subway Series World Series?
Yes, 100%.
Because you know what it would do to me?
Yeah.
Oh, you suck. You suck. So I believe last episode, we were in the division series, and I think the Mets had just won Game 3 at home. Well, they went on to win Game 4 on one of the most clutch home runs I've seen in my life, only outdone by Pete Alonso earlier in the postseason against the Brewers. But Francisco Lindor hit a grand slam in the 6th inning in a game the Mets were down 1-0. They were able to hold on to that lead. and they won that game 4-1. So took the series 3-1 over Philly. Hence why Philly needed that win with the 76ers and did not get it. But so the Mets advanced. And then the other big time series, the Dodgers and the Padres. I believe last time we talked, the Padres were up 2-1. And in game 4, the Dodgers went to a bullpen game. And everyone was like, oh, baby, in San Diego, this is where the Padres feast. And the Dodgers proceeded to shut them out, used 8 pitchers in game 4, shut them out with their bullpen, went to game 5 in LA. All they did was shut him out again.
Yeah.
Won that game. I think Kike Hernandez hit a home run. I believe Teoscar Hernandez hit a home run as well. But, I mean, game 4, game 5, got to have it games. Dodgers pitching really showed up, shut out the Padres, and they won that series in 5. Absolutely nuts in the NL. So, yeah, Mets and Dodgers are meeting in the NLCS. We mentioned game 2 was on Monday. Game 1, the Dodgers, that was on Sunday. The Dodgers just absolutely blitzed the Mets. I think a lot of Mets fans were kind of fearing this outcome. The Mets had been sitting, waiting for the other series to go, had to travel to LA. Dodgers blitzed them, completely blitzed them, won that game 9-0. But they bounced back in game 2, as they have all year long. Scored 6 in the first 2 innings, Sam. 6 in the first 2 innings, won the game 7-3. So the Mets heading back to New York. Game 3 is on Wednesday. So tomorrow at the time of recording, yesterday at the time we're releasing. But game 3 is on Wednesday in New York. So that series is tied at 1 apiece. And then over on the AL side of things, Sam, I believe last time the Yankees and the Royals were 1-1. It didn't go so well for the Royals in Kansas City. Yeah. The Yankees kind of took care of business. Won games 3 and 4 without much of a fuss. Like, there wasn't much drama in this series at all. Yeah. Like, it was like pretty much every team that won, they won like 4-1, 3-1, 5-2, 4, like whatever the score was. It was just not much drama going on in this series. But the Yankees took care of business against the Royals. The Guardians, though, they won a big one at home to there's the Yankees. The Yankees just made an error
to see that.
But it was a pretty interesting one. Third baseman and the shortstop just decided to not field the ball. But in game 4, the Guardians got a big one at home, a big one in Detroit to send it to game 5 at home. They fell behind early, Sam. I believe they were down 2-1, and Lane Thomas with an incredibly clutch home run in the 7th or 8th, I can't remember. It was late in the game. Hit a 2-run home run, flipped the scoreboard. They went up 3-2, and then added some insurance. I believe they won 4-3. So the Guardians took care of business in 5. That was a pretty electric series. Obviously, it didn't have as much juice as Mets Phillies because it was Detroit versus Cleveland. But it was an electric series, and it was down to the wire. Game 5 did not disappoint. But now in the AL, we have Yankees and Guardians. Game 1, the Guardians, man, self-inflicted wounds has been the story of this series. Yankees won yesterday. I believe it was 5-2. The Yankees had 2 solo home runs, whatever. They're the Yankees. They're going to hit home runs. But they had 2 runs scored on pass balls, Sam. You can't do that. 3-2 game looks a lot different than a 5-2 game. And so they and it was early on too. They fell down early because of the pass balls. And then now they're currently down 3-0. And the Yankees had a big time scored a run in the first inning off of a pop-up error in the infield where the shortstop just like literally pop-up hit off his glove. Like, he just dropped it.
Nice.
Guardians are looking tough, although they do have second and third with 1 out. Just a little base hit makes this a much different game at 3-2. But looks like the Yankees seem to have control of this one if this holds. 2-0 Yankees. And again, we're 5 wins away from a Subway Series World Series. But the Dodgers, of course, have something to say about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be electric. I think that's what everybody's hoping for.
Tell you what, man, Subway Series World Series is so interesting to me because I'm dreading it. If the Mets lose to the Yankees in the World Series, it could be the worst moment of my life. If the Mets beat the Yankees in the World Series, it could be the best moment of my life.
Exactly.
And there's no in between.
Yeah, none at all. So obviously these 4 teams going at each other, not the most competitive series so far. But kind of give me one concern with each of these teams that could prevent them from moving on to the World Series.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll start in the AL. For the Guardians, it's gonna be the offense. The offense, just a lot of the times, you saw it against the Tigers. A lot of those games were low scoring, especially if you're going to beat the Yankees. I mean, Judge, Stanton, Soto, all these guys in this lineup, absolute mashers. You got to keep up with scoring. And they scored two runs in game 1. I mean, shutouts so far in this game. They need to score. And it's been an issue for them in the second half of the season. They were red hot in the first half, not so much in the second half. So keeping up with other teams is going to be the tough one. So Guardians need to see that offense step up. With the Yankees, man, I think it's going to need to be the bottom of the order. That's going to need to step up. I obviously have a bunch of friends who are Yankees fans. I've talked to a lot of Yankee fans. They're very pleased with their starting pitching, very pleased with their bullpen, very pleased. Well, they're pleased with the top of their order. I think, the whole meme with Judge in the playoffs. I do still think he needs to step up a little bit more so than he has, but Stanton's been excellent. Soto's been excellent. Gleyber Torres has been great at the top of that lineup, but guys at the bottom need to step up and supplement these the big boppers and offer them some protection. Otherwise, they're just going to pitch around them until they get to the bottom of the lineup. So for the Yankees, that bottom of the lineup needs to step up. For the Mets, it's going to be the bullpen. It's going to be the bullpen. I mean, the last time I talked about their pitching as a whole, but if you were to break down their pitching into starting pitching and the bullpen, I mean, Sean Manaea has been great. Luis Severino has been great. Jose Quintana has been great. Like, the starting pitching has been good. The bullpen is as shaky as it gets, man. And they only have a couple top flight guys that they trust. And in a 7-game series, it's going to be hard to lean on 2 or 3 guys for all 7 games. So other people need to step up in that bullpen. I said the Mets had a 6-0 lead in game 2. In like the 7th inning, the tying run was at the plate in a 6-3 game before they added an insurance run later that inning to make it 7-3. So the bullpen really needs to step up and protect leads if they do get them, because Dodgers bats are relentless. We all know this, and so are the Yankees if they make it there. So they just need not I'm counting out the Guardians, but they do need to have a little bit of a better back end of the bullpen. And then with the Dodgers, the bullpen is excellent, the lineup is excellent, the starting pitching is where it gets shaky. So many guys are injured, Sam. That it's the same thing that's been the story all year. That starting pitching rotation is devastated by injuries. Right now, they're kind of going with, again, Yamamoto. They're going with Jack Flaherty. And then after those two, they're going bullpen games. I mean, Walker Buehler's gotten absolutely shelled in his one start against the Padres. He goes for game 3. So they need to get enough starting pitching to get it to that bullpen. That is really good. And that offense is as good as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So do we see the Subway Series in the World Series?
I mean, that's the thing, man, because I don't want to predict it because I obviously don't want it to happen. But I think it's pretty clear the Yankees are much better than the Guardians and probably going to handle the Guardians. So given that the Yankees will probably be doing that, I don't want to pick against the Mets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say yes. I think it does happen. It would be the worst thing. I would be so unbelievably nervous for every single pitch. I guess I still kind of am now, but just the only way, I've said it before, the only way that this season, after all the comebacks, the bounce back, all that, the only way that this season feels like I wouldn't say a failure, because it's definitely not a failure, but the one way you'd have a sour taste in your mouth is if you lose to the Yankees.
Yeah.
And then we're on a fast track to that matchup. So it would end that way, wouldn't it? But man, that's kind of what's been happening on the baseball diamond right now. The Guardians do have bases loaded, 2 outs and a 1-2 count. But we will definitely update you, react as to what happens. But should we talk some ball?
Let's do it.
We had an excellent slate in college football, Sam. A lot of rivalries, a lot of ranked matchups. We'll start early on in the day. I've said this a few times, and I always seem to screw it up. The Red River rivalry, not the Red River rivalry, but the Red River rivalry, Oklahoma and Texas. Texas took care of business.
Yeah, this was an interesting one till about the second quarter, and Texas woke up. But, I mean, Tanner, if you look at the stats alone, Quinn Ewers wasn't phenomenal. I mean, he had 20 completions for 199 yards, 1 touchdown. Travian Wisner, 13 carries, 118 yards, 1 touchdown, right? Not a ton of, but this defense of the Longhorns is what came to play today. Third down efficiency for Oklahoma, 4 for 15, 2 fumbles. I mean, forced them to punt 6 times. It was a phenomenal performance by this Texas defense. And we all know what that Texas offense is.
Yeah.
And the defense put them in good situations, and the offense capitalized. It's simple as that.
No doubt. And Sam, well, we'll start with Oklahoma, as you said. I mean, this is the story of Oklahoma's season. They just can't generate enough offense right now, and that's insane to think about an Oklahoma team that at some points had Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. I mean, these offenses were as good as it gets, and I mean, it didn't. It just this offense is just not good enough. And on the Texas side of things, really, this game was won in the second quarter. If you don't know if you're looking at that box score, they outscored them 21-0 in that second quarter. And I believe the possessions, those 2 fumbles, this is all within like the last 5 minutes of the quarter. I believe Texas scored a touchdown to go up 10-3. Then Oklahoma got the ball, fumbled. Texas scored a touchdown off the fumble. Oklahoma got the ball back, fumbled again. Texas scored a touchdown off the fumble. And I believe it was 3 straight touchdowns on 2 turnovers, all within like 2 minutes of each other.
Nice.
And the game went from a back and forth, low scoring, gritty game to 24-3 at halftime. And like that.
Yeah.
And then obviously you don't score in the second half. There's not a damn thing you can do. So just an absolute clinic by Texas. And I think they're clearly separating themselves as the best team in college football right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we will move on in our next game, Sam. A big one in the Big Ten. Penn State, USC at the Coliseum, but the Nittany Lions go in and get the job done 33-30.
Yeah, I mean, this game went into overtime, and Penn State pulled it out. But Penn State is now ranked number 3 in the nation, and I don't think I've seen a quarterback play worse this season. I take that back. Cade McNamara exists. But Drew Aller is bad. He is a bad. He comes out, looks like shit, kind of puts it somewhat together in that second half, and he has that defense he can rely on. We all know about Penn State's defense. It's been their strong suit for a couple years now, and they came to play today. Made Miller Moss. I mean, he didn't have a great game, and yeah, I mean, if you look at it through the team stats, it looks like they gave up a lot of yards, but it was a confusing game. But the main takeaway is Drew Aller needs to play better if they want to keep being the top 5 team in the country.
So people are going to look at hear you say that and look at the stats and be like, what the heck are you talking about? You went 30 for 43. He almost had 400 passing yards. He did. And at times he's looked good.
Yeah.
It's the turnovers, man. In the first half, he had some really bad turnovers and they fell down early. Now I understand they did come back, but I thought Aller looked good against West Virginia in week 1. I thought he looked very good. And I was kind of like, did this guy finally take a step forward? Because he was supposed to last year and he didn't. But I agree. Just the eye test, it doesn't look like he's playing great football, and bad defenses like UCLA, like they aren't aren't really scoring against UCLA, where they should have a lot more than feels like they should have more than 27 points. Obviously, they had the scare against Bowling Green, where they only won by 7. It's a good win for Penn State. There was a clear standout for Penn State, which we may talk about later. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But I don't know if I trust Drew Aller and that offense as the number 3 team in the nation.
Yeah.
So they'll be tested. They will be tested because in 2 weeks they, of course, have the big bad Ohio State Buckeyes. So they will be tested. If they can get that win, maybe I'll start to believe. Other than that, they don't really have a test on the schedule. They do have to go to Madison.
Yeah.
So, Wisconsin absolutely shit pumped Rutgers.
Yeah.
Shout out to Superdogs. But yeah, Penn State, good win. I think this team's good. I don't know if I'm buying number 3 team in the nation.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But our next game, this game was absolutely awesome. I don't know this game was incredible. Going to the SEC Death Valley, Sam. Ole Miss traveled to LSU, gets the come from behind victory 29-26.
Yeah, this game was awesome. We knew both of these defense sucked. There's no argument about that, and that's what this game showed. Ole Miss 464 yards, LSU 421. These offenses aren't really that good, Tanner. You look at the third down efficiency, but yeah, man, this game was freaking awesome. What's his name? Garrett Nussmeier.
One of the most confusing stat lines I've ever seen. He was incredibly inefficient, completing under 50% of his passes, but threw for 337 and 3 touchdowns.
It's stupid. Kyron Lacey helped him out. 5 receptions, 111 yards. Aaron Anderson, 3 for 81 yards. Both recorded a touchdown. These 2 teams are so damn confusing, Tanner.
Yeah. No doubt about that. This was an absolute choke from Ole Miss. There's no reason they should have lost this game. If you look at the way it went, Sam, they gave up a touchdown drive on LSU's last possession of the game to tie it to go to overtime. So they probably should have won there. Then in overtime, they just have a disaster of a possession. They go backwards, they lose 15 yards, and their kicker has to make a miraculous bomb of a field goal.
57-yarder.
To put them ahead, and then LSU scores in one play after that. But Sam, I'm looking at their possessions. Just in the first quarter alone, second possession, missed a field goal. Missed a 32-yard field goal, I might add. You go to overtime, you like to have those points back. Next possession, Sam. Turnover on downs at the LSU 4. Got to convert that in the red zone. Next play. They make a field goal. Next possession, they make a field goal, a 49-yard field goal. So again, moving into LSU territory, have to settle for a field goal. Then they scored a couple touchdowns. Next one, lost a fumble. Gave LSU a short field, which they immediately turned into points. So between missed field goals that they made that should have been touchdowns, turnovers on down, fumbles, there's no reason they should have lost.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
But they did. And that's what separates the elite teams in the SEC and teams like Ole Miss, who are always there, who are always, at least under Lane Kiffin, they'll always have good offenses. They'll always be dangerous, but they'll just never be an elite team in the SEC.
Yeah. Absolutely. Did you see Dart in his post-game conference?
What do you say?
Oh my God, he looked like he was getting a freaking it looked like he is about to go he was about to turn to the dark side type crap.
Oh yeah, the hood.
He had the hood on way over his face, you couldn't see below his eye. It was just weird, and he was Sad Boy Dart for sure.
Oh, Sad Boy Dart. Oh yeah, I see it. He's got the Jedi robe on. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, just a game Ole Miss definitely should not have lost, and a thrilling one for LSU. I mean, you're losing. Your defense steps up, generates a few turnovers, and I guarantee if you told Ole Miss he scored 29 points, they probably want a little more.
Yeah,
expect to score a little more. And then in overtime clutching up. I mean, the first play was electric over in Death Valley. But the next one, Sam, the big one, the one we talked a little bit about earlier, Oregon and Ohio State. Will Howard with the play of a century, and Ohio State loses to Oregon. I accidentally clicked out. What was the score?
32-31.
32-31. It was 1 point game.
Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon. I mean, this game
statement
was electric, Tanner. I mean, we got it kicked off with College Game Day. Pat McAfee singing "Shout" was. Did you see that clip? Mm-hmm. That was electric. Eugene was rocking. Probably haven't had a game of this caliber since Mariota years, I'd say. So it's been probably 10 years.
Maybe one against Washington last year.
Yeah.
Rivalry.
Yeah, probably.
Washington was good. But the problem is, I think it started super late.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, Tanner, you talked about the Will Howard play of the century. It might be the play before. Dan Lanning with probably the greatest coaching loophole ever found. Putting 12 men on the field with 10 seconds left.
Okay.
Running 4 seconds off, giving up 5 yards, and the next play, Will Howard makes a mistake.
Oh.
Did you not know that?
Well, so.
Or was that earlier in the game?
The clock was running. Okay. I'm trying to remember the game. Yes.
Yes. So with 10 seconds left, basically Dan Lanning throws a player out, gets 12 yards. They don't blow it dead. So you get a 4 second runoff. You have an extra player, so you're not going to give up a big play, right? So 4 seconds run off, and then we all saw what Will Howard did.
Yeah. No, he probably would have liked to have those 4 seconds back. Yes. But this game was awesome. I think the quarterbacks were really good, except for obviously that one mistake by Will Howard. Dylan Gabriel looked he looked really good.
Yeah, he did.
He looked really good. I mean, offense was aplenty, especially for those Oregon Ducks. I mean, their top guys, Evan Stewart and Jordan James, were electric, each having 100+ either through the air or on the ground. And I mean, Dylan Gabriel was as good as ever. No turnovers, which is absolutely critical. The running back duo for Ohio State, not as good as you expect. I mean, you expect more from Judkins. Henderson was very good in this game, and then Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith were really good as well. But Sam, this game came down to the play. And as he mentioned, the runoff from the penalty, Will Howard ended up in a play where they didn't have much time, scrambling up the middle. Ohio State did have a timeout, but he did not get down in time to call the timeout before time had run off the clock. They were like fringe field goal range. They were in comfortable field goal range before they completed a pass to Jeremiah Smith that was called back for offensive pass interference, which I think was a good call. He two-hand shoved him. Mm-hmm. That's just a freshman mistake. But he, a big time offensive pass interference that, I mean, simply put him back 15 yards, knocked him out of field goal range. Tried to get back, didn't have the time to, and Will Howard committed the mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, man. A costly mistake. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about how this Ohio State team, them in Texas, were kind of the front runners for best team in the nation, Tanner. And Oregon had something to say about that.
Yeah, Oregon looked great. Now let me ask you this, Sam. If you were in the stock market, would you be buying or selling either team's stock?
No. I don't. Just some mental errors on the side of the Buckeyes, so I'm going to keep that stock for a little bit longer.
For sure. I think I'll buy a little Oregon. I think the defense was better than I thought they would be against this Ohio State offense, specifically against this rushing attack.
For sure.
I mean, Judkins was inefficient, 11 carries for 23 yards.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. And if there's a rematch in the playoff, I think Ohio State has a good chance to beat him in a potential rematch. So again, I'm not selling Ohio State. Might buy a little Oregon, but this game rocked.
Yeah,
absolutely rocked. And so we'll end, of course, as we usually do, with our Iowa Hawkeyes. And Sam, Iowa scored 40 points in a Big Ten game.
What?
That is a factual statement.
I don't believe you.
I could not believe my eyes. They looked really good.
Yeah, they look freaking awesome, man. It's amazing what happened. I'll start by saying this. We've been giving Tim Lester the praise. It's a brand new offense, a good, very well ran offense.
Yeah.
We just don't have the talent, and the talent came to play today, Tanner. I mean, as much as we bash on Cade McNamara, he played well on Saturday. If you look at his stats, you would be like, dude, he went 8 for 14, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. I love that. If that means we get 40 points, give me that stat line all damn day. But obviously, Caleb Johnson, an absolute stud, Tanner. He did it both in the passing and rushing attack. We all know what he does on the ground. 21 carries, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know the story. But he got involved in the passing game, 3 receptions, 22 yards, 1 touchdown. So he's just doing it all. Our offense revolves around Caleb Johnson, and he is carrying us to the top, man.
Right. And Cade McNamara, you can look at the stat line. Obviously not impressive. That's Cade McNamara. When did he have his best season? When he didn't have to do anything. When they would hand the ball to Blake Corum, and that offensive line and that running back would do it all. And he can be a winning quarterback when he only has to throw the ball 14 times, which is what happened against Washington. We also do need to give our honorary winner of the episode. It's got to be Cade McNamara for throwing his first passing touchdown against a Power 4 opponent.
Huge.
In 3 years.
Dude.
So,
not a lot of people.
Give it up. So, yeah, it's been a rough go of it for Cade McNamara. But again, this performance, as you said, while not impressive, is exactly what I wanted to see from Cade. He was on time. He was on target. And the running game carried it all.
Yeah. Speaking of, I saw this stat by Ben Stevens on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Listen to this. So obviously, Iowa got a big dub Saturday, sitting at 4-2 on the season. So Iowa has 1,901 total yards this year on offense.
1,901, which they've played 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, I'm just curious because we all know we were looking at yardage 1911. 1901 divided by 6. It's over 300 a game, by the way.
300.
Almost 320.
What? You can either give me a percentage or a number of that is from Caleb Johnson.
I mean, if we're averaging 315, about 315, 316, he's consistently over 150 yards a carry, 150 yards a game. He had that slip up against Ohio State where he didn't look as good. So I'm gonna go 40% feels like an insane guess, but I feel like it might be accurate. Give me 40.
42.8%. So 813 total yards for Caleb Johnson. He has 11 of Iowa's 17 offensive touchdowns. 66 of Iowa's
11 of 17. Oh my God.
17 66 of Iowa's 144 total points, and that's about 45.8% of total points is from number 2, Caleb Johnson.
That guy is something special, man. He is a good
It's
player.
the year of number 2s, man. Him and Nash and Jonty, man. Some dogs.
Is he number 2? Ashton Jonty is?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Number 2 running backs, absolute dogs.
Nice.
My water bottle here. Thank you. But we got the Hands team in Iowa with an impressive win. But we'll talk about this a little bit later, Sam. But that means the streak continues.
Yeah.
Of course, we know Ron, who had an excellent week of Pick'em a week ago.
Yeah.
Can't win the big. Some are saying
Dude.
our Superdogs can't win the big one. And now we have, we have our guest pickers are now 0-4. This is week 7 of college. So 0-6, right?
I think they're for 0-6. Yeah.
0-6.
The closest we've got is a push.
Hey, a push is not a loss. In Vegas, that's huge. But yeah, that's our college football recap, man. It was a great weekend. It was always a great weekend when Iowa scored 40 in a conference game. Maybe would have liked a little bit of a more competitive game in the Red River rivalry, but all in all, good stuff.
Absolutely.
Really impressive slate. But we'll talk a little about the NFL slate, Sam, which I'm not going to lie, was not as impressive as the college football slate.
At all.
We are going to talk about fewer games than normal because we have some other news in the NFL to discuss. A couple of people are on the move. But before we get to all that, imagine saying at the beginning of the year that like the biggest game of this week was going to be Commanders and Ravens.
Yeah.
But albeit was, however, the Ravens, of course, at home, take care of business. They win 30-23. What are your thoughts?
I mean, Tanner, obviously Commanders are off to a start no one expected. And I think this game kind of may humble the Commanders a little bit. It was very clear who was.
Not always that easy.
It was very clear who the Bear team was on Sunday. Lamar Jackson did what he always does. 323 in the air, 26 or 20 for 26. It seems he is getting that passing game a little more consistent and actually becoming a consistent pass thrower, which he's relied more on his legs throughout his career. It seems not that he can't get done on the ground as he always can, but
now that he's not fat.
The big instead of 220, he's 210.
Yeah.
Crazy. I think the biggest acquisition that helped this Ravens should be a Cowboy. Yeah. Derrick Henry did. Unbelievable.
He's been excellent.
It seems he has revived his career because he's always kind of been he was always dominant, but you never heard about him rushing for 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like it,
at least not in the past couple of years.
Yeah,
when his prime, sure.
Like when now you can call me an idiot, and I would probably agree. I was like, oh, they got Derrick Henry. Like that's a good piece, but I wasn't expecting him to be old school Derrick Henry, where he's just running over dudes on a 20-yard after contact. It's crazy.
Sam, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a step up from the running game a year ago. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins got hurt early. They're relying on guys like Gus Edwards to handle the load of running back. So that and bringing Derrick Henry to this offense, and also, man, it's a two-way street because last year the running game was so bad because they didn't have their top running back, and everyone could focus on Lamar and Lamar. Derrick Henry, a lot of his resurgence has to do with who's under center.
Absolutely.
And offensive line, because that offensive line is really freaking good too.
Shout out
Linderbaum, baby. But Buford from Phineas. That was very mean. But
Trudeau.
Yeah, kind of for sure. But yeah, all the pressure's off Derrick Henry. Like last year, Will Levis was turning around and handing the ball to Derrick Henry for 30 times a game. Like
Yeah.
everyone, he was throwing to, I mean, last year he was throwing to, they didn't even have Calvin Ridley. So they did have a 90-year-old DeAndre Hopkins. They had Treylon Burks, who's really struggled to start his career. They just had next to no passing game. They just had to give the ball to number 22, and it just didn't work because everyone knew it was coming. Now, a good offensive line, a quarterback who has a threat with his legs, and obviously Derrick Henry. It's a match made in heaven. He looks unbelievable. Like the minute he stepped foot on the field in a Ravens uniform, I was like, this fits. Like, this is going to work. This is going to, you could tell based on the vibes, and it absolutely is working. Derrick Henry is an absolute monster. But Sam, Zay Flowers was a standout in this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nine receptions, 132 yards. And of course, we all know how much Lamar Jackson loves his tight ends. They got 3 of them now that are making contributions with, obviously, we all know Mark Andrews, who's come alive these past 2 weeks. Isaiah Likely, who had the excellent week 1. And now Charlie Kolar, the pride of Iowa State, is coming in and making an impact as the tight end 3. So, but a baseball update: the Guardians have now scratched 2 from the Yankees. They still have first and third with 2 outs, but it's a 3-2 game, Sam. But
it's amazing what happens when you get bases loaded twice.
Yeah, you can start to score some runs. You can start to score some freaking runs. But Derrick Henry's awesome. The Ravens are all the way back. Lost their first 2. Have now won 4 straight. The Commanders, again, I'm not selling stock. No. I think the Ravens right now are the class of the AFC. I'm ready to say it. They're on the same level as the Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to stay there as long as they don't lose, being the defending champions. But the Ravens, they're in that A tier of the AFC, and hanging with them on the road. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with this Commanders team. But the other one we got to talk about, Sam.
We can skip this one.
This seemed to be a measuring stick game, and it didn't go so well for your Cowboys.
No.
The Lions marched into Big D and took care of Big D, beat him 47-9. And Mike Zimmer's defense continues to get absolutely gashed.
Yeah, I mean, I texted you and Key. I'd like to have a word with the Lego man because everything is indeed not awesome. I mean, Tanner, it was a shit pumping.
Completely.
Dak Prescott is terrible. I like it. I'd like it to be known. Dak Prescott, it looked horrible today. I mean, and I would obviously, this Lions defense is freaking incredible. Unfortunately, they did have a huge piece with a terrible injury. Had a surgery that night. Luckily, it wasn't as serious as everyone thought. He only broke or whatever his tibia. So
fractured.
Fractured.
The medical term for broken.
Broken, fractured, same thing. But it's not his tibia and fibia, which is big relief if you're a Lions fan. But back to the game. I mean, Brian Branch. Let's talk about how he played 2 picks. It never seemed that Dak was ever comfortable in this game, and you could tell by watching any of this game because he looked horrible. We can't do anything in the rushing attack. I mean, Rico Dowdle, 25 yards.
Yeah, the rushing
it's just bad. Obviously, you have to take into consideration the Cowboys are riddled with injuries right now. We're without Micah Parsons, Lawrence. I think we're missing a couple DBs, but
you're missing Eric Kendricks.
Eric Kendricks too. There's obviously a lot of pieces missing, but I knew we were going to lose, Tanner. I was not expecting it to be this bad. I thought Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb would at least get get it going a little bit. And the Detroit Lions said something about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of Cowboys fans, it's the Lions coming to town, as injured as you were, didn't expect to win. Expect to hang in though. I mean, 47-9, absolute gashing. I mean, it's now multiple times where you have red zone turnovers from miscommunications between Dak and CD. It's almost like they should have practiced all offseason together.
Not important.
But you talk about vibes, dude. The Cowboys right now are an all-time bad vibes spot.
Yeah.
I mean,
you think Jerry Jones had a good birthday?
I don't think he had a good birthday. I think he had actually a bad birthday, getting absolutely smoked. But they're all-time bad vibes right now. Everyone's hurt. They're all pressing. The good news is the Eagles don't look good either, so that division is still in play. But
it's crazy that Commanders are the best team.
Yeah.
In that division.
I didn't even mention the Command. See, I'm already thinking the Commanders are a joke. I forgot. So the Commanders, right now you're catching the Commanders. So but not looking good.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as the Cowboys looked, Tanner, this Lions team,
they look good.
Jared Goff played a damn near perfect game
again.
18-25,
perfect game. The last time, 2 weeks
for
ago,
25,
played
315 yards, 3 touchdowns. Most importantly, no interceptions. David Montgomery ran over like 85 dudes this game on 12 carries, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs even got in the mix, 12 carries, 63 yards. Jamison Williams, Khalif Raymond, Tim Paget, the list goes on it. Everybody. And their best offensive weapon, Amon-Ra St. Brown, had 4 receptions and they scored 47 damn points. It was a rough Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even want to watch. It was so brutal.
Yeah. No doubt about that.
But hey, we still got Dak.
You had offensive linemen running routes. You had they ran a hook and ladder to their left tackle.
I think they had 3 plays where linemen were eligible receivers.
Yeah, and one of them, of course, was to the player who was reported as eligible and was called ineligible.
Dan Skipper.
Yeah, Dan Skipper. You all know that. Yeah, that scenario from last year. I mean, they just wanted to give a middle finger to the entire league, to the Cowboys, and let them know we're here and we're not going to let the mistakes of last year define us. But this team looks really freaking good. And, of course, they have to be in the NFC North because, I think right now you have to say the only team that looks like they can compete with the Lions right now in the NFC is the Vikings.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and guess what we have this weekend, Sam?
Vikings Lions. Love it.
It should be a pretty fun game. But, instead of talking about some other games, we decided let's talk about some trades because, Sam, we got some big-time trades today on Tuesday, the day of recording, and we'll lead it off with the headliner. Cam Akers is headed back to the Vikings.
Huge.
Can you believe it?
Dude, I'm so glad you brought that. I thought that was one you're going to miss, but that is the talk of the town.
Talk of the town is Cam Akers going back to the Vikings. The Vikings made this exact same trade last year with the Rams to get Cam Akers. I don't really understand it. But, Okay, now let's talk about the real big one. DeAndre. Good.
Nice.
Devontae Adams headed from Vegas to the Jets. And Sam, time is a flat circle. He wanted out of Green Bay. He wanted to play with Derek Carr. Guess where he ends up? Back with Rodgers in New York. And the Jets seem to have given all sorts of control directly to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Not surprising. I mean, who hasn't Rodgers brought back?
He hasn't brought back Randall Cobb. Well, Randall Cobb was on the Jets last year, actually.
I think he was.
So it totally was. That's a lie.
Yeah,
He hasn't brought Jordy Nelson hasn't suited up for the Jets.
Lacey. Time's coming though. Pull back. Tight end. Yeah, dude.
He ate the biscuit.
he ate
a lot of
about
biscuits.
6 biscuits, brother. No, this was in I sure. I mean, I think obviously the Jets get better, but like this hasn't worked. Like the definition of insanity is doing things, repeating things, and hoping, expecting a different result. I mean, yeah, I don't really know what else to say here.
Duo hasn't won a championship together. Obviously, anytime you can bring in Devontae Adams, as you said, your team gets better. The Jets now have 5 NFL starting caliber wide receivers. If my is it it's yeah, I mean I have Devontae and they have Garrett Wilson, obviously. So that's as good as a 1-2 punch as there is in the league. Then they'll have Mike Williams. Then they'll have Alan Lazard. Okay, maybe 4, but they have 4.
Cowboys could use some of that.
They have 4 like NFL style. Alan Lazard's not amazing, but he's a
wide receiver 4.
He's a very good wide receiver 3, let alone wide receiver 4. So I don't know how they're going to work that all out. But
no running back.
Yeah.
Why use Brees Hall?
Yeah. Well, finally, last night on Monday, on their loss to the Bills, they actually got Brees Hall going.
It's crazy.
Yeah, crazy how that works. First time in like 3 weeks he's gotten going. But they just need to figure out a rhythm, man, because they have talent on every inch of that football field. That defense, I gave them a lot of props against Minnesota. That defense had Sam Darnold for the first time this year. Sam Darnold looked bad because that defense was excellent. And let me tell you, I just don't understand why this team isn't good. Well, I do because Aaron Rodgers is an old sack of crap that is a control freak psychomaniac who needs to have control over every inch of everything. And if he doesn't, he throws a fit and acts like he doesn't want to play. That's my analysis. Take it or leave it. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. They bring in Devontae. Obviously, it's a good pickup, but can Aaron Rodgers play enough good football to bring this team to something? And they've already built themselves a little bit of a deficit in that division.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But one that I think is super slept on, Sam, another good receiver, heads to the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills, I would say, are depending on who you ask, either number 1 or number 2 in terms of in desperate need of a wide receiver. The other, obviously, being the Chiefs with Rashee Rice on the injured reserve. But the Buffalo Bills went into this year with Khalil Shakur as their number 1 wide receiver. They get desperate wide receiver help, make a trade with the Browns, bring in Amari Cooper up to Buffalo, which I'm excited about. I haven't seen Amari Cooper play with a competent quarterback since he was in Dallas. And I think him and Josh Allen could be pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is a huge pickup for the Bills, like you said, severely lacking any offensive weapons. And doesn't get much better than Amari Cooper. I think this is a guy that's kind of fallen in the shadows. He was with the Raiders there for a little bit. Haven't really heard a lot about him since his he's always been consistently a good wide receiver for the Browns, but he was never really talked about, if that makes any sense. But I mean, I expect him to go kind of crazy because he's going to get a lot of targets from Josh Allen, and I think he's going to take advantage, and he's going to be a nice little weapon for this team.
I totally agree. I think this is the bigger of the 2 moves. Obviously, Devontae is the better player, but the bigger of the 2 moves for sure. You haven't heard about Amari Cooper because he's been catching passes from a shitty sexual predator instead of an actual NFL quarterback like he will be in Buffalo. And I think people are going to be quickly reminded how good Amari Cooper is at football when he plays with Josh Allen. I think that's going to be a really good duo that leads the Bills to an AFC East victory, and they'll be one of the better teams in the AFC as they currently are. But yeah, that just makes them all that much scarier. And of course, as we highlighted, Cam Akers going back to Minnesota. So yeah, I mean, interesting. A couple of wide receivers were on the move today. both to the AFC East and both going to teams that played each other last night. So
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting. But I think it's that time, Sam. We got to talk about our players of the week. We'll start out in college. Who is your NCAA player of the week?
Yeah, my NCAA player of the week, obviously, is going to stay in the running back room, Tanner. I'm going to go with butchers. Tawee Walker
Nailed it.
of the Wisconsin Badgers. Tanner, you mentioned the Badgers beat the brakes off of Rutgers. Game not a lot of people predicted, but not my guy Tanner. He predicted that ish. But Tawee Walker was a huge part of the Wisconsin offense. 24 carries, 198 yards, 8.3 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns, helping a Wisconsin Badgers get a huge win over one of the top teams in the Big Ten, Rutgers.
Yeah, he was excellent. We all know Wisconsin. They're at their best when they just run the damn football. A strong candidate for RBU. I think them and Alabama would definitely each have a claim to that. But a lot of good running backs come out of Wisconsin. They need to feed the ball to the backfield. Lord knows that passing game for a while has been struggling. But yeah, that's definitely a good one, Sam. For my player of the week, I'm going to have a little bit of a theme because my NFL and NCAA player of the week are very similar. Same position, and they both had obviously really good games, and they both did something rather unique this week. But in the NCAA, I'm going to go with Tyler Warren. He was unbelievable this weekend, Sam. I watched the entirety of that USC Penn State. He was excellent. The tight end from Penn State. I tell you, looking at his stats based on just from the eye test of what I watched, I would have guessed he had more yards and more catches than this. His hands were all over this game, Sam. He had 17 receptions.
Hey, man.
17 receptions for 224 and a touchdown. And the coolest part about all of it, his touchdown reception, not only was it a moss in the end zone, but it was from a play in which he snapped the ball. They ran some weirdo formation.
It was crazy.
It was nuts. The backup quarterback received the snap from Warren. They threw it backwards out up to the top of the screen where Aller was lined with a couple blockers in front of him. And then after he snapped, Warren just ran to the end zone and Aller hit him in the end zone. And he made an incredible catch. Mossed a player, might have even been 2, and scored that touchdown, which obviously was huge coming out of halftime. USC was losing at halftime. But a final stat line of 17 for 224 and a touchdown. And he also, Sam, don't get it twisted. Not only did he have that incredible receiving stat line, not only did he snap a ball on his touchdown, he also went 1 for 1 in 9 yards through the air.
There you go.
A 9-yard pass as well.
There you go.
He did it all. He was excellent. Tyler Warren is my NCAA player of the week.
Nice. Yeah, he went freaking crazy on Saturday in a big game against USC.
Yeah, he also had a 4-yard rush too. So he threw it, he carried it, he snapped it, and he caught a lot of it.
Oh, he's a guy that plays for Saints.
Taysom Hill?
Taysom
Hilled it.
Yeah.
He Taysom Hilled it. Oh, man, that's awesome. But, of course, we will now switch over to the NFL. Sam, who is your NFL player of the week?
Well, this guy played against Taysom Hill's team. Of course, I'm talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers shellacked the Saints 51-27. I was going to lean towards Baker. He played phenomenal, 4 touchdowns. But the thing that drew me against him, 3 picks, not great. So I'm going to go with his wide receiver, Chris Godwin. 11 receptions, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. Absolutely looked amazing on Sunday against the Saints. really helped Baker just open it up for this offense and was a big reason why they put up 51 on Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think, I was looking through players, and once you said Chris Godwin, I was kind of like, because I think he had the best week in the NFL this week. He was the best player in the NFL, at least offensively. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, there really wasn't another standout performance.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, you know what? Let's keep it on theme. We're going to stick to tight ends. I'm going to go with Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears. They played in London against Jacksonville. Cole Kmet was very good. He caught five receptions for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Got in the end zone twice. He was the Bears' leading receiver. A game where the Bears beat the absolute life out of the Jags, 35-16. So I thought this would be a good one, but Sam, he is on theme because the Chicago Bears long snapper in this game got injured.
Yeah.
They did not have a backup, obviously, who carries a backup long snapper. So Cole Kmet, not only did he have a great game, was the Bears' leading receiver and caught 2 touchdowns, but he also was their long snapper in this game.
That's awesome.
Snapped the ball for multiple extra points. I don't believe they kicked a field goal.
Yeah.
But multiple extra points, and I think on punts too.
Yeah.
And
he didn't screw up.
And
that's the most impressive part.
This guy is unbelievable. So yeah, my overall theme: tight ends who play multiple positions and specifically snap the football.
I love it.
Oh man. But those are our NFL players of the week. Of course, we want to know who you would pick as your players of the week, both in college and in the NFL. But Sam, you know what that means. It is time for Pick'em, and we welcome on a very special guest. The run of Godsey's continues. We are going with Elisabeth Godsey today. Of course, Sam's sister. It should be an electric Pick'em. So let's welcome her on.
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
Okay, now we welcome on a very special guest. Of course, Elisabeth Godsey is joining the podcast as our guest picker. Yes, Sam's sister, as the run of Godsey's continue on Crunch Time. Elisabeth, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm a little nervous, but I'm ready.
Ready to pick some games?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we'll start off.
We got to give Ron some props.
Yes, my apologies.
He went a perfect 8 for 8, 8-0. Unfortunately, Washington didn't cover for that Superdog, but he sits atop the leaderboard with an 8-0 record, 8 total points he scored. So, Elisabeth, you got some big shoes to fill. It's going to be tough, but let's see if you can do it.
Some big shoes to fill. And we're still looking for our first guest picker to get a Superdog right. So we'll see if it can be this episode. No pressure at all. But of course, we will start in the Big Ten. Nebraska travels to Indiana to take on the undefeated Hoosiers. Elisabeth, you got the Huskers or you got the Hoosiers?
I have Indiana. I think they're on a really good streak right now. I'm hoping to see a 7-0 season as of this weekend. And also Nebraska, just not a fan in this household. So we're going with Indiana.
Hell yeah.
Elisabeth, that is a great pick. I'm going with Indiana as well, specifically in Bloomington. Kurt Cignetti has come in and been an absolute slam dunk hire from James Madison last year. We all know how good he was for the Dukes. Comes into Indiana. This team is playing incredible football right now. I think they keep it rolling against Nebraska. It hasn't been the same team on the road as compared to at home for Nebraska. Give me the Hoosiers at home.
Not so fast, you two. Give me Nebraska there. I see what you have been saying, not the same team, but I think this is where it all comes together and shocks the world. Give me the Huskers over Indiana.
Interesting. Interesting. I like it. I like it. So we'll move on. We'll go down to SEC country. This one was one of the headliners coming in to this week, Sam. It was supposed to be a top 5 matchup. Both teams have faltered a little bit. Alabama losing to Vanderbilt, Tennessee losing to Arkansas, and then last week, both winning not comfortably at all. Tennessee barely beating Florida in overtime, and Alabama barely beating South Carolina. Both teams are slipping, but Elisabeth, you going with the Tide or you going with the Volunteers?
That's a tough one because Arkansas, we beat them. It was a really surprising game, that one. And then you got Alabama. Obviously, Saban's not here anymore. And I think Alabama's spending a little too much time right now in the locker room making TikToks rather than on the field.
Let's
but
go.
but I think Tennessee could definitely pull this out. So I'm actually gonna go with Tennessee this week.
One for Rocky Top.
Wow.
Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that ain't happening. Give me Alabama, man, and it comes down to one position only. Actually, 2 guys.
Okay.
Ryan Williams, Jalen Milroe.
Yep.
That's all you need. Give me them over Nico and whatever weapon you want to pick for Tennessee. Give me Alabama here.
Yeah, I'm pretty frustrated. I mean, at how quickly this game turned into maybe not the best. It seemed like it was going to be an absolute headliner for the season. I've gone back and forth. One thing I think that's been somewhat impressive, though, is this Tennessee defense. Against Arkansas, it was Tennessee's offense that really let them down. And similarly against Florida. I mean, Florida isn't a very impressive defensive team at all, and Tennessee really struggled to get their offense going. I think the Tennessee defense steps up again, and I'm going to go with Rocky Top at home to get a big-time win over Alabama. Again, they beat them last time they were in Tennessee. Neyland's going to be rocking, so give me the Volunteers. Next game. Wow, we're going Big Ten SEC, Big Ten SEC. So we're going to go back to the Big Ten. Michigan, a very up and down season for them, going to Champaign to take on the Fighting Illini. Top 25 matchup, though. Top 20, 22 Illinois, 24 Michigan. Elisabeth, who you got?
I don't really honestly know much about both of them. However, I did look at their records, and obviously Michigan is not doing too hot yet. And you got Illinois, they're 5-1, right? So I think we're gonna have to go with Illinois.
Sam?
I mean, I have just a good reason as Elisabeth. Give me Illinois, man. I haven't trusted these Michigan Wolverines all year. I am a little afraid of Illinois overlooking this game and checking out their game against the Ducks in the next week. But I think they lock it in this week, get a big win at home over Michigan.
You know what? I'm going to make it 3 for 3. I agree with both of you. I think them being at home is a big time advantage in this one. Michigan, as I mentioned, up and down season. Really the only up is that win against USC, who obviously now we've seen a couple times and hasn't looked that great, have fallen out of the top 25. The down has been bad. I mean, that second half against Minnesota was really bad. They lost to a team that got run out of the building by Iowa. They lost by 24. Washington did to Iowa, and they beat Michigan a week ago. I'm not on this Michigan team. Give me Illinois at home. But we'll wrap it up with the absolute headliner. I think this one or Oregon, Ohio State is the game of the year. I guess also maybe Georgia, Bama. But in the SEC, you've got number 5 Georgia after their loss against Alabama. They're heading to Austin to take on the number 1 ranked Texas Longhorns after they dismantled Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. Elisabeth, you going with the upset or you got the horns?
Horns down, obviously, but I will say it is a home game, and I feel like I'm just gonna have to give it to Texas this week. I haven't really heard Georgia doing much. And Texas they have Quinn Ewers. Is that his name?
Yeah,
That is his name.
Oh.
ball
So
knower.
I think he could have another good game under his belt this week. And Georgia's just not natty potential anymore. So
Wow, big words. Big words.
Potential.
gonna have to go with Texas.
Everything in my body is telling me, Sam, don't be stupid. Go with Texas. They're the bear team. But Tanner,
Is Georgia now underrated?
this is college football, the greatest sport in the world. Crazy things happen week in, week out.
They sure do.
So give me the Bulldogs here.
He's gone.
Austin shocking the world.
Oh gosh.
I don't know why, but give me the Bulldogs.
Sometimes you just feel it. However, I don't feel it. I think Texas is clear in a way the best team in college
Disgusting, you
football.
two.
Throw up the horns.
Disgusting, you two. That's
Horns up.
disgusting.
Horns up.
You're making me throw up in my mouth.
Give me them Longhorns. Give me them Longhorns. I think they take care of business in Austin. Horns up. Best team in the country gets another win. I'm going with Texas. So
Disgusting.
we will. I don't have the same hate for Texas as the Arkansas people in here. I'm riding with the Horns. But we will move on to the NFL. Great game in the early slate. We got Houston. It's kind of righted the ship after they got taken down by the big bad Minnesota Vikings. They go to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Elisabeth, Texans or Packers?
I don't like Green Bay. I've never liked, their former quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. And for that reason, I think
Great take right there.
I'm gonna go with the Texans. Pretty easy.
Not so fast. This Texans team, man, it seems they hit the high of highs and then they slowly come down, hit the high of highs. I mean, a couple weeks ago, they only beat the Jags by 4 points, Tanner.
And a last-second touchdown at home.
Jordan Love here, Tanner. I know that pains you to hear, but give me the Packers, man.
Yeah, I absolutely hate the Packers. Great take by Elisabeth. Aaron Rodgers is a scumbag who deserves nothing but the worst in life. I totally agree with all of that. However, the Packers will win this game. I think the Packers do win. I think they beat the Texans, specifically at home. Ever since that first half against Minnesota, where they looked awful, they almost came back in the second half and put together a couple really impressive games since then. Packers are playing well. They're part of that juggernaut NFC North. I think they continue to keep going. But a big one, the big one in the NFC North. We've got the 4-1 Lions. They go to Minnesota to take on the 5-0 Minnesota Vikings. Number 1 and number 2 in the NFL in point differential. Elisabeth, who are you going with?
I don't know. I have no idea. What are you? Let me hear you first. Let me hear you first.
She's passing. Sam.
That's a first to pick him in.
Never say we'll roll with it.
We'll roll with it. After Sunday's performance of the Lions, how's lean towards them? It really was. His defense looked great. Offense looked great. There's really no reason why I shouldn't pick the Lions. But I think Aiden Hutchinson's injury is going to be a lot bigger than a lot of people think. So for strictly that reason, give me the Vikings here.
That's a great pick. I love that pick so much. Yeah, that's a big blow for the Lions not having Aiden Hutchinson. And I mean, this is a Minnesota team that's pass protected well. So you take out the number 1 pass rusher. We all know what happens when Sam Darnold's had time in the pocket with those receivers Minnesota has. He'll find someone. I believe TJ Hawkinson will be available for this game. He will be activated. So another weapon added to the Vikings. Oh, it is so hard. I'm going to think with my head. I've seen this game play out tons of times. Minnesota's got to lose some point. I think if they're going to lose at some point this season, it's going to be to the number 2 team in terms of point differential. I think I'm going to go with the Lions here to make a statement in the NFC North. As much as it pains me to say, the Lions right now are an absolute juggernaut, and Minnesota coming off the bye week, did they keep the same momentum? I don't know. So I'm going to go with the Lions. But Elisabeth, you got 1 Vikings, 1 Lions. Did that help at all?
Yeah, I think so. I think I forgot Aiden Hutchinson did get injured. So without him, that's not great. But I think
Correct.
they still have a chance. So I'm going to go with the Lions.
Lions. Okay. All right, Sam, going solo on the Vikes. I hope you're right. I really do. I believe it or not, I do hope you're right. But the next one, we have a rematch of the Super Bowl. The 5-0 Chiefs travel to San Fran, take on the 49ers. Again, San Francisco, also one of the most confusing teams in football. Obviously, we all know the talent on the roster. When they look good, they're good. When they've been bad, they've been really bad. Elisabeth, you going with the undefeated Chiefs, or are you going with the Niners?
I think the Chiefs will pull it off. There's always something that they do at the end of every game that's just like they just get it. And I think, Patty Mahomes, like he can throw a ball. He can throw a ball no matter if it's sideways, underneath, like literally anything. So I feel like they just got some magic that no other team can bring, especially at the end of a game. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs.
I think we got 2 excellent quote cards there. We've got the Chiefs, they just get it. So right. And then Patty Mahomes, he can throw a ball. I mean, it's two great takes. And honestly, she ain't wrong. Not a lie was said. Not a lie.
I actually really like that pick. I think with the loss of Richie Rice, it's going to be a bigger deal. You know who I think steps up big in this game? A guy who has not performed well all season. I expect Travis Kelce to have a big game, fill in that missing hole of Richie Rice, and Patty Mahomes throws the ball pretty damn good. And I think he finds Travis Kelce on Sunday. Give me the Chiefs here.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I mean, the Chiefs, as Elisabeth said, they just continue to find ways, whether it's getting a favorable call, which obviously has happened in the past, whether it's their defense stepping up and getting a touch, like against the Bengals. Gave the ball back to the Bengals after the Chiefs went 3 and out. The Bengals were leading. Looked like it was a big time inflection point in the game. Defense gets a scoop and score. They always find a way to turn the tide. However, the 49ers, I think, are way better than their record states. So I'm going to go with the 49ers at home. I think there's just too much talent. The Chiefs are too injured. Now, if this was the playoffs Chiefs are what I just said times 3. They always find a way to get it done in the playoffs. In the regular season, again, similar with the Vikings, they got to lose at some point. And I think they're just too injured to get it done in San Francisco, although the health of Jordan Mason is going to be a big one in this game. Although the health of Christian McCaffrey was a big one, and Jordan Mason stepped up and was basically just as good. So I'm sure they have another running back on their roster who no one's ever heard of that will be just as good. But the last game we are going to pick, the Ravens, who are on an absolute tear right now. They got to go to Tampa Bay to take on Baker Mayfield and the high-flying offense of the Buccaneers. Elisabeth, who you got?
Again, don't know much about them, but I do like the beach. So I think Tampa is pretty good. The Ravens, not a big fan of their mascot.
Okay. Don't like Edgar Allan Poe.
So I don't know. I feel like they might come out of tempo with a win, that being the Ravens. So we're going to go with them.
All right. I like it.
So recap there.
Beach is good.
Beach good.
Ravens bad.
Raven better football team.
Ravens better football team.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go.
And frankly,
Exactly.
I agree, Tanner. On the more football side of things, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, we talked about it earlier. One of the best duos in the league. Not to mention Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, all the weapons Lamar has. And frankly, the Buccaneers just don't have that rushing attack. And I think that's what is going to be the difference maker here. Give me the Ravens.
I'm going to make it 3 for 3. I am not picking against the Baltimore Ravens right now. Sure, beaches are nice. I like seafood and Old Bay seasoning. That's Baltimore right there. So give me the Ravens. Everything Sam said, that rushing attack, that Lamar Jackson, what he looks like throwing the ball right now, those tight ends are stepping up big time. And the rushing game in the Ravens are the number one rush defense in the NFL. They're allowing under 100 yards per game on the ground. And I think that continues. They force Baker to drop back 50 plus times. They get home and the Ravens take care of this one. But
They're just too hot to handle.
What's that?
They're just too hot to handle.
They're just too hot to handle, even though they have a bad mascot. But
Yes.
of course, that brings us to our super dog. We've said it once, we've said it a million times. We're looking for our first win from our guest picker, Elisabeth. Do you think you have a winner?
I think so. I think
Good.
I'll take. Oh.
That's a good thing. But, I mean, who is it? Let us know.
Oh. Okay, so it took me a minute to figure out what Superdog meant. So I had to Google, did some research, but figured it out. I think I'm going to take Auburn over Mizzou because Mizzou just not it this year.
Not it.
They're really bad, and it's just Auburn. Like I said with the Chiefs, they just get it. So we're
Auburn
gonna
just gets it.
Auburn, plus 4.5.
So now we need to do a mascot check. How do you feel about tigers?
Which tiger is better?
Because we've got tigers all over this.
Yeah, I like
Filled
orange.
with tigers.
Orange is used to be my favorite color.
Oh,
It's actually my second favorite color now, so we're still gonna have to go with
behind
orange.
what?
Behind blue.
Okay.
So
It would have
perfect.
been very funny if she said yellow. I would have loved that. But I like that. Okay. I mean, that's crazy things happen. That's not a bad pick at all. I do think it is funny, the 2 and 4 Auburn Tigers. They just get it.
I respect it.
I love it. I love it. You're
respect
going
it.
out on a limb, and I love it. I think that might be a winner. I think we may have our first winner from.
Dude, can you imagine if that's our first winner? I picked him because I like orange more. Sometimes that's all you need.
It's not as good as blue, but orange is good. Orange is good.
Yeah.
I like it. Hey, that is not a bad pick whatsoever. But Sam, your turn. Who's your super dog?
Suey.
Amazing.
Take it on the Bengals. Give me plus 2.5, Tanner. I love Taylor Green. This offense. We saw him against Tennessee. Went into bye week. Prepared for this LSU team coming off a big win. Possible hangover. Give me the Hogs over LSU, baby.
I can't say it's as good as the color conversation, but it was still pretty good. It was still pretty electric.
I tried.
Yeah, but Yeah, again, I think there's definitely big time hangover potential there, Sam. But I'm gonna go to the ACC because we've got a team in the ACC that has hung on by a thread the past couple weeks. That is Miami. They have not been all that impressive after a rip-roaring start to the season. Last 2 weeks, barely edged one out over Cal, and then barely over Virginia Tech with the help of an overturned call that some people, us, don't think should have been overturned. Now they got to go to Louisville. This was a preseason top 20 team. They have faltered a little bit, but they had to go to SMU. Not a bad team. Lost that game in a back and forth. They lost by 7, and their other loss is to Notre Dame, a top 15 team, in their own right. So I like Louisville at home here against Miami, who has not looked all that great. They're getting 5 points at home. I think Louisville wins this game outright. I'm going to say it. I think they win this game outright, but give me the +5 on the Cardinals.
I like it. I totally agree. I think Miami is bound to get beat sooner rather than later.
They're
I
playing
think
with fire.
Louisville, it's going to be that.
They're
I like
playing
that
with fire for sure. Elisabeth, I regret to inform you I'm picking against an orange team.
That hurts.
There's no blue anywhere to be found. But all right, Elisabeth, there are 11 total points up for grabs. Do you think you beat your dad?
No.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Numble, baby. I love it.
No. My dad knows a little more than me. Just a little bit.
Can't say everyone we've asked pretty much has been, I got all 11. I got all 11. The quickest no.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can I change one of mine?
Is that loud?
What are you changing?
Alabama and Tennessee.
Whoa.
A late switch. I mean,
Late
the episode's
switch.
not over.
The episode is not over.
I think you're
Are
valid.
you officially locking in the Tide?
I am. Thought it over.
Wow. Last minute switch.
All right.
Will that cost her beating Ron? More importantly, do you beat Jaren?
No.
Yeah, that's no. And more importantly, I can't figure out this relationship with Orange because now you're picking against Tennessee.
I know, but Alabama's got that 17-year-old Ryan Williams. Okay, he's a
He's
beast.
17.
What?
17. I don't think I could run that fast when I was 17. So
Dear guys.
definitely got it. And
Yes, it too.
He gets it.
yeah, he gets it too. Like he's like the star. He's gonna be like, if he continues down this road.
Okay.
Don't quote me, but I think you can if it happens. Like a first-round draft pick.
Oh, okay.
Calling
Yeah.
it.
All right, calling a shot. I like it. Okay, just so I have in my notes here. So the Chiefs, Auburn, and Ryan Williams.
Oh,
Get it. They get it.
They get it.
They get it. Okay, I like it. They get it.
They get it.
Perfect. I've a first in crunch time history, a late switch.
And not thinking she's go 11. So
Yeah, and just not expecting much.
love the humbleness.
Not expecting much from her picks. That was very funny. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
we'll just have to wait. We'll just have to wait and see.
We'll just have to wait and see. That's why they play the game, Elisabeth, because anything can happen.
College football.
College football is the best. Man, this was an all-time guest picker. Thank you so much, Elisabeth. We appreciate you coming on. I mean, I learned so much about who gets it and who doesn't. I've got it in my notes here. But yeah. We appreciate you coming on.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Huge shout out to Elisabeth for coming on as our guest picker of the week. Sam, do we finally get a super dog to hit?
I don't know.
It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, but you know what? You got to have faith, right? But I mean, just an all-time pick 'em. But of course, before we wrap up, we do have a few questions we have to get to. So the first one, Sam, is going to be from, let's just keep the Godsey train rolling. This is going to be from your mom, Carol, again. She submitted one last week, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
She wants to know, what's the dumbest rule in football?
Yeah, it seems there's a lot of dumb ones, especially lately. But for me, I think I'm going to go with excessive celebration.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It is the dumbest rule because 99.9% of the time it is in a big game, in a big moment, and it's basically like a game-defying play.
Mm-hmm.
And it always gets called regardless of the situation. And it's just a vibe killer, man. And it doesn't really punish the celebrating team that much. Like, I think it moves back either the extra point or the
kickoff. With college, the extra point from the 3. So a 15-yard penalty makes it like a 35-yard attempt, which is easily makeable, or enforce it on the kickoff, which I think is only half the distance. I don't think they it's
dumb,
stupid. But I don't know if you saw this. I'm trying to find out which game. I remember watching it. There was an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty this week for spiking the ball.
Oh.
I think it was in college. I don't know if I'm going to find it.
For spiking the ball.
Yeah, no, like it wasn't even like they called sportsmanlike conduct and you watched the replay and you saw he spiked the ball. No. So the referee literally said sportsmanlike conduct, spiking the ball, offense, whatever. So stupid. Sports are meant to be fun. Stop taking fun out of sports.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Hell, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think it was in college. I don't think it was an NFL game. But
yeah. I don't know. That sounds something like the NFL would do.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that's true. But of course, mine. A lot of talk about one rule, specifically the touchback rule.
Yeah.
We talked about how on kickoffs, the out of bounds are treated differently. Out of the back of the end zone, touchback, out of the side of the end zone, penalty. So the sideline is the danger zone, but the end zone is the safe zone. So why on fumbles is it flipped? Where if you fumble on the sideline, that's the safe zone. But if you fumble out the back of the end zone, that's the danger zone, and it goes for a touchback. Now, some people say fumbling out the back of the end zone for a touchback is a stupid rule. I just want it to be consistent. Whether I would be okay
about it.
I would be okay if you fumble the ball out of bounds.
Yeah,
it goes to the defense.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be rewarded for fumbling a ball out of bounds. I think that would be a good rule, and then it makes the touchback rule so much better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or you just make it consistent the other way, where if you fumble out of bounds, it goes back to the offense, back where they fumbled it. But if you fumble out the back of the end zone, it should go back to the offense too, back where they fumbled it. Like I just want it to be consistent. The way they treat out of bounds on the sidelines versus out the back of the end zone on kickoffs and on fumbles is completely opposite. It doesn't make sense to me. Make it consistent. And if it were me, I think I would make the switch. I think if you fumble it out of bounds, it should go to the defense.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't be rewarded for, or not even necessarily rewarded, but like when you fumble it out of bounds, no harm, no foul. No, screw that. It is a harm. You fumbled it.
That's great. I never thought about it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's the worst rule in football, that they just don't keep out of bounds consistent at all. So yeah, that is mine for sure. But next one, Sam, comes from my mom, Harry Dislin. She wants to know, specifically with the baseball postseason going around. Baseball is a very superstitious sport. You got to wear the same jersey. You got to wear the same this, that, and the other. Can't wash your jersey, of course, in a run. You know all the superstitions. She wants to know, do you have any superstitions either as a fan or back when you were playing, when you were a player?
I'm trying to think. I don't think I do as a fan. Not that I know of. But as a player, if I ever had a good game, I'd have that meal and like listen to the same music before the game. I remember one game I had like 20 points in a basketball game, and I was listening to Champions by Ron Artest. And then I listened to it every game before that. And turns out it doesn't work. But that's kind of the only time I can think of that I've been superstitious about.
Yeah, I think it's really hard. It's really hard to draw the line between superstition and routine.
Yeah.
Because I had a pregame routine for sure. A lot of the times I prefer to eat the same meal. I prefer to listen to similar music.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to do the same stretches and make sure everything was ready to go before a game. But I think I was definitely more superstitious on, at least as a fan, I am watching baseball. But as a player, so I mentioned the routine. I happen to wear the same cutoff Under Armour undershirt from about 5th grade to high school.
Nice.
It was the color of our team. It was like the perfect match. It was always comfortable. Like I wouldn't even it wasn't even like a superstitious thing where we won last week, I have to wear it again.
Yeah.
It was just what I liked to wear, and I don't want to play in something that I wasn't comfortable in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to call that as a superstition. But as I'm watching the game, I mean, if we in football, if we won the week before, I'm wearing the same stuff. Certainly during this baseball run, I've tried to wear the same jersey, same jacket, same hat, same shorts, all of that stuff. I do change underwear. I will say that underwear and socks get changed. Everything else does not. But also in baseball as a player, I had one stretch where I was absolutely red hot with a bat that I loved. It was my bat. I loved it. And then there was a game in which I broke it. It was a metal bat, and I got jammed. I ended up grounding into a double play on that too. So it was insult to injury. But my bat broke, and literally it was one of those bats where it had like 2 sections. Like it had, you had your handle, then it had a little section just above the handle, then it had a separation, then it had the barrel, and it hit right on that separation, and it literally, Sam, it looked like this. Like it didn't completely clean break like a wood bat would, but it was like completely sideways, almost like a boomerang going one way then the other way. And I didn't actually notice it at first. And my next at bat, I went up with the broken bat and I hit a double in the gap with a broken ass bat.
There you go.
It was pretty impressive. But anyway, and then the rest of that year, when I didn't have my bat, I was awful. Like I couldn't hit. And I don't know, like it's just the superstition about it is just like when you add new things to your routine, it just messes with your head. And so I don't know if any of that counts as superstition or if it's more routine. I think I would argue it's more routine when you're a player, but when you're a fan, it's 100% superstition. Wearing the same clothes, all of that stuff, which I'm absolutely guilty of.
Yeah. So one more additional question, Tanner. This one comes from Carrie Guy. She just texted me about it. So, the head coach of West Virginia, Neil Brown, made these comments, and she wants to know what our thoughts are. They lost to Iowa State last week. So he said this to West Virginia fans. I get they want to win, but what I'd say is, did they have a good time? Did they enjoy it? It was a pretty good atmosphere. I'm assuming they probably had a pretty good time tailgating. So if they're in the deal for enjoyment, then I'd come back. I looked at the weather, and it's going to be nice again. It's a night game, and we need them to provide a home field advantage. I get it. They're frustrated we didn't win. We played a tough schedule. Everyone's who beaten us hasn't lost. That's not excuse. It's just the truth. What? What are your thoughts?
I have two words coming to mind. Loser talk. Loser talk. Oh my God. I mean, it can be a fact that every team you've lost to is undefeated. You can't say that.
Yeah.
You absolutely can't say that. And the statement, it's telling fans, I know you want to win, but did you have fun? Oh my God. Sam, if we were in the middle of one of those 4 or 5 win Iowa seasons and Kirk Ferentz said that, I
At least
would
he had
have,
fun. I heard Melrose was bumping.
I would have called in a nuclear airstrike on Kinnick Stadium. I mean, I would have created a fake FanDuel account, Kirk.Ferentz at uiowa.edu. I would have done everything in my power to get him suspended or fired. That is as bad as it gets, man. I understand the point, but you just simply put, you cannot tell your fans, I know you want to win, but let's just have fun. You can tell your players that. Let's have fun and everything else will follow. You can't tell fans that. That's ridiculous. And if I was a West Virginia fan, I would be really pissed off about it.
Yeah.
Loser talk.
That's I have nothing more to say, but yeah, definitely huge loser talk.
That's a great question. I didn't even hear about that.
No, I didn't either. Supposedly she's in like a Big 12 fan page, and believe it or not, Tanner, West Virginia fans not happy about it.
Damn, that stinks. But no question from Dana Riley.
I know.
Oh no,
Yeah, you can see that
that's all right.
next week.
Well,
I guess
next week.
probably not.
Next week, I guess. We will see. But that wraps it up for episode 145. Of course, we started with some winners and losers. Moved on to the MLB playoffs. We are dangerously close to a Subway Series World Series. The Yankees have just added on a run. They're up 4-2 now. Got up to a 2-run lead. Of course, we recapped the slate in college football. A great slate it was. Talked about a few things in the NFL, a couple games. Cowboys need an answer fast. And some big trades that went down. A couple of wide receivers were on the move to AFC East destinations. Cam Akers is a Viking again. I know you're all wondering my thoughts about it. But then, of course, we finished with pick'em and questions. But we want to know your thoughts. As always, let us know. Make sure to follow the podcast on X, TikTok, and Instagram at CrunchTime_pod. And, of course, check out our YouTube. Subscribe on there, Crunch Time with the N326 duo. But the clock has run out on this episode. We'll see you in the next one on Crunch Time.
Here.